welcome back to my channel. My name is Fazila. You're tuning into Fazila Reads. Today's episode is going to be a dedicated book review for The Raven and the Dove series by Kaitlyn Davis. The Raven and the Dove series has 4 main books and 1 prequel. The first book is The Raven and the Dove. The second book is The Hunger and the Mage. The third book is The Dragon and the Queen. And the fourth and final book is The Godborn and the King. And the prequel is The Princess and the Pawn. Before even we get into the series review, can we just stop and take a moment to appreciate how beautiful these covers are? I mean, they're the most stunning covers that I have ever laid my eyes on. The beautiful artwork, the colors, the combination of these characters and their fierce expressions, man, I love them. When I saw this title on NetGalley, I never thought I'll be getting my hands on this copy. Honestly, I still requested it on a whim, not thinking that I'm going to get it. Imagine my surprise when it actually came through. I was super excited. I actually did a happy dance as well. I read the synopsis on Goodreads and I was like, I'm sold. Let's talk about the series, shall we? The first book in the series is Raven and the Dove. This is an avian-inspired epic fantasy, which is a retelling of Tristan and Isolde.
The story is set in a fantasy world where there is a world above the mist and a world below the mist. We have human beings with wings living above the mist and human beings with magical powers living below the mist. The bird humans live on floating kingdoms. Each species of bird humans have their own floating island and are separated by their difference in avian characteristics and skills. The royal houses with the different avians have unique skills, culture, traditions, religious beliefs, gods, and practices that are quite fascinating. Each kingdom has its own distinctive architecture, landscapes, and terrain that makes them exceptional. They worship different gods, and their floating island is afloat because of the power of the god stones. In this book, we follow the 4 main characters: Lyanna, the princess from the House of Peace, which is a kingdom of doves; Cassie, who is an owl and a childhood friend of Lyanna; Rafe, the bastard son of the deceased king of the ravens; and Lysander, the future king prince of the ravens from the House of Whispers. All the avians have gathered in the House of Peace for the courtship trials. This is when the heirs of each of the houses participate in the different trials to test out their skills and also choose their mates. Lyanna is one of the princes who will get betrothed, and so being the impulsive, adventure-seeking princess that she is, she decides to have one last adventure with her friend Cassie. Lyanna and Cassie were not ready for the events that will happen. Rafe is the bastard son of the Raven King and half-brother to the beloved Prince Lysander. Rafe is attacked by a dragon and gets rescued by Lyanna, who helps him heal using her magic. The two form a bond during this time. Lyanna is drawn to Rafe, and both of their forbidden magic is putting them at ease with each other. Below the mist, a young king is fighting a battle prophesied long before. He believes he is the chosen one along with Lyanna. With the help of his chosen mages, he plans to take Lyanna at any cost. This is pretty much the premise of this book. The story goes on with the trials taking place and the different heirs choosing their mates. The trial ends with a lot of problems and unexpected events. With magic being forbidden above the mist and earthquakes plaguing the floating islands, each of these houses have to work together to stop the destruction that could happen at any time. Now let's talk about how amazing the world was. Kaitlyn does a fantastic job of creating such a wonderful and imaginative world. For me, this is definitely one of my favorite fictional worlds, with lots of beautiful landscapes, each kingdom having its own distinctive culture, tradition, architecture, and landscapes. Not only that, they also have different climates and various functionalities in terms of what they have to offer as well. Each of the floating islands were completely unique and was wonderfully described in great detail. When it comes to the characters and character work, I love how Kaitlyn has created 2 strong female leads who have so much personality and depth to them. Not just the female characters, but also the main characters were created with lots of care. They were all equally compelling as well. Lyanna is a bubbly, vivacious, fun-loving, impulsive princess. She is used to getting her own way, and in the beginning she does behave like a spoiled princess would. Rafe is a dark, brooding hero with a tragic past. He is misunderstood, and people of his own kingdom hate and fear him. Lysander is a beloved and studious prince who would rather spend all of his time reading and exploring in the library than training. He also has certain insecurities that makes him take a passive approach to his life. Cassie is definitely a favorite of mine, and I believe she is also a fan favorite, as she was the most complex and compelling of the 4 main characters. You will know what I mean if you read the story. I can't say much because it will spoil the book. Malik is also equally interesting with a heavy and tragic past that haunts him and urges him to take some of the drastic measures. He is also quite layered. Although we don't get to see him much in this book, he still piqued my interest.
The story was well developed, written wonderfully, keeping the audience engaged. The book was paced perfectly as well, with the right amount of adventure, romance, intrigue, and twist to keep the reader hooked to it. I loved the way the story was outlined, bringing the world building to develop as the story progresses. The world building was simply incredible, as I mentioned before. I was hooked to the world and the houses right away from the beginning. Their world was diverse, with each house representing a unique set of skills. Their history, the world formation were amazing to read. I loved how the two different worlds are connected by the characters and the prophecy binding them to it. The characters were fascinating and colorful in their personality. They were also unique, layered, and had shades of good and bad. The magic system is not yet fully defined in this book, but we still get to see the different magic connected to different elements. This was such a great start to the series, I have to say. I was hooked from the beginning. The book was simply amazing and so well written. The world building and the magic was fascinating. The characters were layered and wonderful. The cast simply was just phenomenal. The complexity of the characters and the twists and turns we get to experience in this book was just amazing. Cassie, Xander, Rafe, Anna, they were the four main characters that was driving the plot forward. Also, we should not forget about Malik. This is a story of lies, betrayal, love, and secrecy. I have to say, this book will keep you hooked till the end. I loved every second of this book. I had to take a small break because of the emotional upheaval this ending caused me. Man, I was not ready for it. This book was really engaging, the plot was riveting, and that ending drove me to tears actually. I gave this book 5 stars. Can't wait to read the next book. Highly recommend the series to anyone who loves magical adventures, forbidden romance, star-crossed lovers, cutting betrayals, and shocking twists and turns. Have you read this series? If so, what were your thoughts on it? Did you enjoy it? Let me know in the comment section down below. The Princess and the Pawn gives us Anna and Rafe's POVs and helps us understand their thought process and how they were feeling about the courtship trials. Their preparations for the trials are detailed in this book and also giving us insight into how they felt about all of it. I think this is such a nice addition to the series, adding in more details and making it even more complete. I would highly recommend picking this up if you have read the first book. The Hunter and the Mage is the second book in the Raven and the Dove series. I was fully devastated by that ending in the first book. Man, it ended on the worst kind of cliffhanger. I was dying to know what happened and had to wait quite a while until I could get my hands on the second book. Let me tell you, I was not a happy camper. Kaitlyn doesn't shy away from putting her characters through the ringer, especially her main characters. If you have read the Raven and the Dove series, then you know what I'm talking about. I had very high expectations going into this book and was fully excited to explore what the author has in store for us. The story picks up from where we left off in the first book. Malik has convinced Lyanna of her fate and her duties in protecting the world from destruction. The story picks up from where we left off in the first book. Malik has convinced Lyanna of her fate and her duties in protecting the world from destruction. She is definitely struggling with her magic and needs Malik's assistance in learning and wielding it. So there are a lot of training sequences in this book. The responsibilities are definitely burdening for her, but she's devoted to the cause. Rafe is struggling to come to terms with his new reality. He is also trying to take one day at a time with the help of his friends. He is definitely angry, feels betrayed, and is devastated by the loss that he has experienced. He is trying to cope with the loss he has endured and is not happy about the situation at all. Cassie and Xander has formed this unlikely alliance and have made it a priority to bring Lyanna back before the House of Whispers gets destroyed. When it comes to characters, Malik was the worst kind of character, and he's the kind of character who believes he's doing everything for a good cause and justifies all of his actions based on that. I think he's the worst kind of character and the worst kind of evil to be existing. He reminded me of Eli from Wishes. Now, having read Malice, I have to say he has quite a lot of similarities with Nadir as well. Rafe is just amazing and wonderful. He's one of the nicest guys in the story. But the poor guy couldn't catch a break. I mean, come on. The amount of torture, suffering, and trauma that Rafe was going through in this book is just unbelievable. Lyanna has a lot of growth in this book. She takes responsibility and also is willing to sacrifice her love for a better future for her people. She wants to save the world and is dedicated to making it happen, regardless of what she has to go through. Cassie is struggling to find a home where she belongs. She is also working hard with Xander in order to right the wrongs that she has done. Xander, for the first time in his life, will have to step out of his brother's shadow to be the man and the king his kingdom needs. He needs to solve a lot of issues, and with the help of Cassie, he is planning to bring the kingdoms back to safety from the dangers that they are facing. We are also introduced to a new cast of characters who are a fun group and becomes Rafe's fun family.
There were some of my favorite characters in this one.
And also, we get to see some new friendships and entertaining characters as well.
Now let's talk about the pacing and the writing style. I love Caitlyn's writing. It's very accessible and also quite descriptive. The pacing was good. It's not as fast paced as the first book throughout. Overall, this was such a great book. There were some twists and turns that happened that I did not see coming. I loved the story, had a great time reading it. It was such an enjoyable experience. If you loved the first book and love to read YA fantasy with amazing characters, fun and entertaining story with an intriguing world, you should definitely pick this book up. I gave the book 5 stars, absolutely enjoyed it, highly recommend checking it out. Let's get to the third book in the series, The Dragon and the Queen. This series has been such a delight, and I'm so invested in these characters that you'll not believe it. I loved every second of this series and was so excited to read this book. The book picks up very quickly, and all the characters have to deal with the destruction that has befallen them. The two worlds collide, and people above the mist fear the people below the mist. The world is in chaos and is on the cusp of entering into a new phase. When it comes to our characters, Xander is taking up more responsibility and is also gaining more confidence as he steps into his new role. He also has to let go of his insecurities and deal with the pressure that he's facing head on. Cassie is just as fierce and loyal as in the other books. We are bound to see quite a change in dynamics as she takes on the side that is fighting for the right cause. Malik is refusing to accept what is right in front of him and is also hellbent on making sure the prophecy is upheld. In this book, he has to come to terms with a lot of the uncomfortable truths and the realities that is existing. All of this makes him just a flawed human being who was caught up in a difficult circumstance. Malik does understand that he had a lot of choices in front of him, but that he made the wrong ones again and again. We also get to understand him better, and although we can't defend his actions or motivations, he had the best intentions for his people. He just went about things the wrong way, driven by fear and duty. Lyanna is just as headstrong and leads a group. Our motley crew and the rest of them have to join forces in saving the world from the destruction they face. A lot of it is at stake, and with the stakes being so high, everyone is under the pressure to find the solutions to making sure the floating islands stay afloat to keep the balance of the world. History and the lore of the world is explored in diary entry formats. I found the stories that was being revealed so fascinating. The world itself was so different to the world we see today. The social structure, the need for the floating island's existence, and the magic all added to the story fantastically. The relationship and friendships gets a time to evolve and grow in this book. The found family gets more screen time, and it was wonderful to see them working together and also supporting one another. The character arc and growth was believable and was executed perfectly, in my opinion. The character dynamics also was wonderful to see. The non-stop action, fighting sequences, the high stakes, and the fast pacing made this such an exciting and engaging read. It was fun and entertaining. This is the kind of book you can finish in one sitting. All the twists and turns, the constant action, all added to the mounting tension and will leave the readers excited. That's a guarantee. I have to say, Kaitlyn Davis is a queen of cliffhangers. Each of these books ended on such a cliffhanger that it is bound to drive the readers crazy. I was itching to find out what happened, and it was not fun waiting for the next book to come out. I gave the book 4.5 to 5 stars. I had a great time reading this one and highly recommend the series to everyone who is looking for a quick and easy yet an adventurous story. Now on to the final book in the series, The Godborn and the King. Honestly, I don't think I was ever ready for the series to end. It has been such a thrilling journey so far with a great cast of characters and all the exciting adventures they were on. With the world in chaos and the chosen ones gone, things were going to go off the rails, that was for sure. The remaining floating kingdom, the House of Peace, will have to do everything in their power to solve the issues they are facing, not just with the fallen kingdoms, but also with the mages who will want to take over their lands. Xander is in big trouble with the royals from the other houses. He also has a long road ahead of him in order to convince everyone to release the mages and also the avians who possess magic. Cassie and the mages from below the mist will have to find a way to reach Lyanna and Rafe and also bring them back. Restoring the balance and repairing the rift is of utmost importance, even though they do not know how to go about it. More and more dragons have come out of the rift and are now attacking people below the mist and also the above the mist. New forces are arising against the ruler under the mist. Rafe and Lyanna are now stuck in a new land, which is filled with dragons and the magical hybrids who came from the Godstones. These hybrids will stop at nothing to drain the life force out of Lyanna. Both Rafe and Anna are struggling to live on the other side of the rift. They are recuperating from their injuries. They find themselves at peace despite the danger of dragons and the hybrid creatures hanging over them. Cassie has to bring the Rift Mage back and also figure out a way to manipulate the rift and close it. Rokaro and team are facing difficult situations and need to find a way out of the problems they have found themselves in. In this book, we have a lot of action, fight sequences, spy work, and also new magic to focus on. I found myself completely engrossed in the book. I was constantly worrying for the characters as well. There were also quite a few shocking reveals and moments that I did not see coming. I loved seeing the friendships and romantic relationships that was on the slow burner come to fruition. The best part of the series was world building, obviously, and the characters, the found family dynamics, also the slow burn romances. Having said that, there was one romance that felt rushed. I wished it was better executed. It felt insta lovey because of the way it developed. There was also the introduction of a few characters, and their presence felt equally rushed. The epilogue was cute, and I found certain interactions funny as well. I wanted to see how the kingdoms and the people would react to the rift being closed and the obvious change in the ruling parties. But we never got to see that part, and so I'm a little disappointed by that fact. Don't get me wrong, I still enjoy the conclusion of this book. It's just that I wanted more out of it, and in my opinion, it ended way too soon. I'm low-key asking Kaitlyn Davis to give us a spin-off so we get to see more of our favorite characters and their journey forward. Can you blame me for wanting more of this world? Also, I believe the way the book ended, there were few things that was purposely left unattended, which makes me hope that Kaitlyn will give us a book that will close out all the threads that were left dangling. Overall, this was such a beautiful journey. I am a huge fan of the series. I love the world, the soft magic system, and the wonderful layered characters. If you enjoy young adult, new adult fantasy with winged humans, then this is the book for you. I gave the book 4 stars. It was a pretty good conclusion, and I'm a little sad about the series coming to an end. I would highly recommend this series to the fans of Cursebreaker series or ACOTAR. This is such a quick read with an exciting adventure throughout, so you can binge read this entire series in a couple of days. The Godborn and the King comes out on May 23rd of this year, so make sure to keep an eye out for this one. Let me know your favorite YA fantasy series that you would love to binge read. That's it for today, folks. Thank you for watching. Until next time. Bye bye.